It's a fantastic opportunity to collaborate across a range of disparate organisations and individuals to come to a really good understanding of what the key issues are and what we need to tackle. I think it's just fantastic that the initiative has been taken and that we can all share that understanding and, best of all, come up with some tangible things that we can actually do.
It's about sharing information, finding common ground, finding areas where we've got knowledge gaps that perhaps we can work together and pool resources to help solve some of those knowledge gaps. The rangelands is a large area with relatively few resources, so if we can both share knowledge and I guess even physical resources and collaborate and partnership with funding to achieve good fire management in the rangelands, I think that's where we need to go next.
There's a need to ensure that the community as a whole appreciates the value of rangelands, the very diverse values associated with rangelands. And the other message is that those that participate in the rangelands for whatever role ensure that we optimise the benefits to the rangelands as an entity and look at all of the components that influence rangeland management, but in particular fire, because fire is the key component in all processes.
But I think it would be a great idea if there was a greater level of cross-regional discussion between the rangelands groups of WA and the NT and Queensland, because I think there's very disparate conversations that take place at the present time, and quite clearly from what we've seen today there's lots of very similar challenges. And I think one of the good things that could come out of this would actually be to encourage a lot more of that sort of dialogue takes place.
And planning together, not just working together. The planning has to come first. We've all got the same goals, we all want the same things. So.
I think success would look like integrated action on the ground. Things actually happening in a collaborative fashion on the ground to reduce the adverse effect of fire, unplanned fire.
From an ecological or biological perspective, success would look like a reduction in big summer wildfires or high intensity wildfires. It would look like a patchwork quilt of small fires at different times since fire. It would look like having Indigenous communities empowered to carry out their own fire management with their own capacity and resources and knowledge and skills, supported obviously with modern technologies.
What it would look like would be agencies like the one I work for, Department of Parks and Wildlife, providing strategic overarching direction, and lots of landowners, land managers on the ground doing the implementation of those plans, putting fire in across the country all the time. And the measures of success would be employment for traditional owner groups and pastoralists and communities, and lots of fire in the landscape so that biodiversity is not declining.
Well, firstly, meetings like these, because it's all about relationships. Good collaborations are based on good relationships. So it's really important to get together and talk often and frequently. And the second thing I think is about understanding how different organisations can bring different skills, capacities, resources to a project, and then about understanding your sort of role within a project. So your organisation is bringing a particular resource or capacity, and you're using that to achieve a shared goal.
Okay.
I think the message is fire in the rangelands has changed significantly, and not in positive ways, but there is a good possibility of altering that change, getting it back to what it ought to be by collaborating among a broad range of stakeholders. And the thing that really impressed me was that it does seem possible that we can make all those stakeholders happy with pretty much a single approach to fire, that we're not talking about irreconcilable differences between the stakeholders, and that's a pleasant surprise.
I've learnt that there's lots of passionate people in the rangelands and interested in fire, and this shouldn't stop here. We should continue with the work and get out there and do the work out in the field.
I think goodwill is the fundamental thing. People have to have a desire to make things like this work, and it will rely initially on the passion of individuals, but if it is perpetually reliant on the passion of individuals, when they move on, it dies. So somehow you have to embed goodwill in organisations that last a long time.
People attending meetings and workshops like this and getting together and talking, finding out what others have been doing, and then getting there and sharing it, whether it be in a workshop like this or preferably out in the bush, out in the ground, kicking the dirt, especially if we're going to be talking with traditional owners out on their country.
I think if we can get the coordinating group up, and also the processes that have been discussed over the last couple of days can be developed and refined, then I think we'll be heading in the right direction.
Okay, we've just had the inaugural Fire Forum for Rangelands, which I thought was a great success in the fact that we've got a whole heap of people sharing knowledge, and everyone's working towards the common objective of environmental, cultural and pastoral values. So because there's so many crossovers at the centre, it's taking people on that journey so that they own the process, and ultimately everyone wants the wildfires contained, so it's that mosaic burn with assets protected.